Hello. Alright, this video has been a long time coming, but I'm breaking that wall down and I'm going to do it today. I've been putting it off because I couldn't decide on a good way to go about it, but I am going to talk about this game anyway, and I can always revisit and make another video if I need to. Now, the reason it's so hard for me to talk about this is because it is one of the first computer games I've ever played and a huge inspiration for me making games now. My brother and I were 12 and 9 when we were first introduced to the Commodore 64. We just left Czech Republic for Germany. We lived in Germany for about Bavaria for about 9 months, and this was like early on in that year, almost a year. And one of our family friends, his son had a computer. Our parents were watching a movie in the other room, and we were in the boys' room, sitting in front of this computer with the glow, the CRT monitor glow in our faces. And you know, for my brother and me, it was just an amazing experience. We've never seen something like that before. Coming from a communist country which was basically shut off from anything Western, this was just insanely amazing for us. Now, we've played other games on that night. I don't exactly remember necessarily what they all were. I know that one of them was the original Street Fighter #1. This was obviously the Commodore 64 port of it and not the arcade, and I don't think there's a lot in common between those two, but it was still fun, you know. I mean, again, like, I've never seen anything like that before, so yeah. But anyway, getting back to this game, the game is Saboteur 2, and it just sticks in my mind at how excited we were when this guy loaded it up. We were like, whoa, what is this? This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. You arrive on a hang glider and you press the fire button to drop down in this compound where you have to battle guards and pumas and etc, and you have to get out on a motorbike. And you know, all this stuff was just like, wow, this is just amazingly cool, and I can't describe the excitement we felt at the time, you know. I mean, you know what a 12 and 9-year-old would feel like. You can just imagine, you know. So this is a huge inspiration, this game, for what I do, and I absolutely love elements of it, like the exploration of that compound, you know, the fact that there was a lot of atmosphere. You were going through tunnels deep underneath the compound. There was blind corners and places you would get to where you couldn't really go anywhere else, and if you drop down, you know, you would die, and there was bats in the tunnels and all sorts of stuff. You know, starting the game, there was a bunch of missions you could pick out, the easiest one being pretty much just, you know, get out type of thing. Then one of the harder ones, you know, make this amount of money, put a key card and stop this missile from being launched. You know, for its time, the game was quite deep. Now, there is obviously a #1, Saboteur #1, but I've played that a lot later. This game is obviously the one that I've played first and the one that sticks in my mind. So that's the reason I needed to start this whole game review, looking back at old Commodore 64 games experiences video series. I needed to start it on this game because, you know, no other game deserves as much place in my mind as this one. There are better games, you know, and this might not mean anything to you like it does me, but it is just one of those things, you know. It is a very personal, nostalgic thing that a lot of the time is a driving force behind, you know, the path you take in your life and stuff like that. So yeah, it was amazing. I mean, the whole process, you know, Commodore 64 was so funny. You know, back in the day, you used tapes. You would put the tape and you'd wait for like 3 minutes just to load the game up, and sometimes it wouldn't load, so you'd have to do it again. You know, obviously later on they had disk drives, which was a lot faster. But yeah, This was actually quite late in the Commodore 64's life cycle. We came to Germany in 1989, and coming from a communist country, we've never seen anything like that before. So for us, for my brother and me, it was just a crazily amazing. We were never exposed to anything Western. We didn't even know what a ninja was, and that is the main protagonist in the game. You actually play a lady ninja who is apparently the sister of the man ninja in the first game, who apparently gets killed. We didn't know any of this. We didn't know you're a lady. We didn't know this story. We didn't know that that she had a brother. Nothing, because back in the day, almost no one had manuals for games. No one had the originals. Most people just had a disc that they copied of their friends, at school or something like that, and swapped it for another game. So those were such simple, innocent times when you think about it. Yeah, you can't replicate the 80s. 80s was an awesome era. If you haven't experienced that, there will never be another 80s. And there are elements of it now, and people are bringing it back with indie games and stuff, because they realize that these old games had a lot of charm. But yeah, it's just one of those things that was a snapshot in time, and it was a brilliant time. So again, this game was actually quite buggy looking back at it. I remember that you had to battle guards, right? And the fighting was very simplistic. You could punch, you could fly kick, you could sweep kick. You just end up sweep kicking all the time, because it was the easiest way to dispose of them. Now, there was also Puma guards, as I've mentioned before, but these could be killed by just sweep kicking anywhere on the screen. You didn't even have to touch them. That's another bug. And the most important bug, or it could be a little thing that the creator left in the game to maybe test, was that you could drop right at the end of the compound. And so the way it would work is, if you would fly in on the hang glider, and if you press the fire button, you would drop into the compound, right? You didn't know where you're dropping to. It was kind of like trial and error, and you'd have to replay. Most of the spots, I think, were not high enough to kill you. Only if you jump off the sides of the building, you could pretty much die. I think that most of the spots you could land quite safely, or with at least a little bit of health left. The more you drop, the further you drop down, the more health you would lose. But as you would fly all the way to the left side of the compound, if you got right to the end, the computer would basically kick you off, because it would say, hey, you're at the end of the map, so now you have to drop. So it would drop you. And I know that our friend showed us that there was this trick you could do, where you would fly all the way to the end of the compound, and then keep walking left and drop off the side of the building. And this was the one spot where you could drop multiple screens, I think it was like 8 or something, without dying. You drop and you'd lose about that much health, that much health out of a bar about this big. And we were like, whoa, so this is cool. Maybe it's because you landed on grass, but there was other places you'd land on grass, and you wouldn't live. So I'm pretty sure it was either a bug or a little trick that the developer left in. The developer's name, by the way, is Clive Townsend. Okay, so just in case you guys are looking up who made the game, and because there is another game out there called Saboteur. It's a newer PC game, so you might get a little bit confused. I think the full name of this game is Saboteur 2 Avenging Angel. That's the second one, yeah. So anyway, you would drop at the end of this map. You drop down the side of the building, and there was an electric fence, and this is the spot you needed to get out of the compound. If you walked through, you would get electrocuted and you would die. So that was not a good way to do it, because you'd lose the game. So you needed to actually find a bike inside the tunnels underneath the compound, and to do that, it was very easy if you use this trick, because at the end of the map there was an entrance to the tunnel, and the bike was sitting about 3 screens away. So we would always walk in, there would be bats flying up and down, and you'd have to avoid them by ducking and stuff, and you'd get on this bike, ride out, and you were done. So this was a really, really easy trick to win the game on one of the most basic missions. Obviously, like I said, there was so many more, and you actually did need to explore the compound to win the game properly. But this was one of the ways to just really quickly win a simple mission, So it's not a great game breaker at all, and neither were the Pumas. I mean, the game was still challenging. Part of the big reason was the exploration, Yeah, that feeling of sitting there in front of this, in a dark room in front of the CRT monitor, you know, it can be replicated. Now and then I, you know, load up the, what do you call it? An emulator, WinVice it's called, yeah, on my computer, and I play the game, and it's awesome. I still love playing it. I still love exploring, and you know, obviously it's an, you know, mid-80s game, so it's not, it doesn't hold up to today's standards by any means. You know, I mean, now I'm playing things like Uncharted on PlayStation 4, but there is a charm to these games, an innocent charm, and there's also something simplistic about them that is still fun to play. And that's why a lot of indie people are coming up with games and not making them complicated. You know, there's a lot of stuff like that. So yeah, but I remember that feeling of sitting there, and there was this slight buzz coming out of the monitor, where it was just like, and it was almost like it was supposed to be there, you know, like crickets in the background in the night type of thing. And you know, it was probably just the monitor just about to crap out or something, or you know, how bad were those things for you, you know, with all that radioactive glow and stuff. But yeah, awesome experiences. And yeah, I don't want to make this video super long. I've been talking for quite a while, so I'm going to cut it off here, and I'm sure that I'm going to play this game multiple times on my channel. I might even do a long play. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Check the game out if you can, and I will talk to you later.